Hello and welcome to the She Reads Romance Books podcast, the ultimate show for romance book lovers looking for the best books worth reading. I'm your host, Leslie Murphy, and in each short episode, I share my favorite book list of recommendations so you know exactly what to add to your must-read list. Join me as I explore the romance genre and have fun collecting book boyfriends along the way, because life is better with a love story. Hello, readers. If you are a big fan of the accidental pregnancy romance books, then this is the episode for you. Hi, it's Leslie. Welcome to the She Reads Romance Books podcast. In case you didn't know, every year I run the She Reads Romance Books Romance Book Reading Challenge, where we read one romance book a month to check out a different category or trope in the romance genre. But this year, I'm also giving my followers in my newsletter and now on Instagram a weekly reading challenge where I pull a card from my A Year of Reading Romance card deck, which has two different reading challenge prompts on each card. Now, this week's challenge on the card is to read a surprise pregnancy romance book. And I realized I didn't have a book list dedicated to this trope. So here we are. Today, I'm going to share 6 of my favorite surprise pregnancy romance books. And if you can't get enough of this romance trope to help fill your must-read list, then if you want even more, you can check out my entire book list of surprise pregnancy romance books on shereadsromancebooks.com, where I give all of my wonderful, great recommendations for this trope. I will also say that I'm talking about 6 books in this episode, as I mentioned, all but the last one. It really doesn't give a spoiler that accidental pregnancy is the theme of the book because it's mentioned in the book summary. So I'm really not giving you any spoilers, except it's not really mentioned, I realized, in the last book. So you can stop listening if you are worried about that. But these are my absolute favorites, and I know that you're going to absolutely love them. But before I get to my list, did you know that Christmas in July is here? And so is a first of its kind holiday romantic comedy that I want to tell you all about. Holiday Headlock by Terry Armstrong features wrestler Erin McKellen returning home from the road at Christmas time after being away for many years building a successful career in pro wrestling. He arrives in his hometown, welcomed by friends and family, but it's running into his high school crush that makes Holiday Headlock a Christmas to remember. Surrounded by a fun cast of characters you will never forget, Aaron must ultimately wrestle with whether to continue a life of fortune and fame or embrace the life he once desired with the girl of his dreams. Christmas romantic comedy meets pro wrestling, a perfect choice to read with your partner. Make sure you order a copy of Holiday Headlock today on Amazon. All right, now that you've got your fill of Christmas romance, let's dive into my first recommendation for an accidental surprise pregnancy romance. And that is Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young. And if you have not yet read this book, then you are in for a treat. I just love this book, and that's probably a very big understatement. Here is what it is about. Winifred McNulty has always been wildly independent and not one to be coddled for her limb difference. Win has spent most of her life trying to prove that she can do it all on her own. With some minor adjustments, she's done just fine. Hooking up at a costume party with the incredibly charming Beau changes everything. Win finds herself pregnant and decides to keep the baby. While Beau is surprisingly elated to step up to the plate, Win is unsure of whether she can handle this new challenge. Together, Win and Beau decide to get to know one another as friends and nothing more while they embark on this pregnancy journey together. But as they both should know by now, life rarely goes according to plan. I honestly love all of Hannah's books. Just going to tell it to you straight. So don't press me to pick a favorite because I'm not sure I can. But this one is definitely at the top, or one of the top. Not only because it's a beautiful love story, but it really also is one that gives such a great diverse representation in romance. I absolutely love how Hannah wanted to write about two people who love each other so much that they are able to change the negative thought patterns that they've held onto and embrace their differences fully. This truly is a book about disabled joy, as she calls it, because Win and Bo are two amazing characters who are so much more than her small hand and his leg prosthesis. Win and Bo's one night stand was pretty incredible for both of them in more ways than one, and the rest of their love story is really them, playing catch up to those feelings that have already developed and taking the time to finally admit to themselves that they've found their soulmate that one special Halloween night. When you have honestly great writing and wonderful characters, you really don't need to depend on a lot of drama to carry the story. And so I love that I was honestly just along for the ride watching Win and Bo fall fully in love without really any undue angst that can maybe be part of a accidental pregnancy romance. So this book's not to be missed. Read it for its beautiful love story. Read it to finally see some special characters with ability difference that are way more than just their difference. Read it for the laughter, the steaminess, or honestly, just because it's a great love story. You won't regret it. It was fantastic. My next favorite surprise pregnancy romance book is One Moment Please by Amy Dawes, and here is what it's about. That awkward moment when an ER doctor has to inform you that you're pregnant with his baby. 3 things Lindsay Jones knows about the hot doctor. He's grouchy, an arrogant jerk, and strangely obsessed with pie. 3 things Dr. Josh Richardson knows. He doesn't talk about his past, he doesn't do relationships, and the crazy girl in the hospital cafeteria who ate a fistful of French silk pie is annoyingly irresistible. After a chance meetup at a bar and a heated cab ride together, things come to a head, and now instead of hating each other, they're horizontal in a bed. 3 months later, the weird cafeteria stalker who crept out of Josh's house like a thief in the night winds up as his patient in the ER after her Tinder date from hell. The doctor is prepared to keep it cool and professional, that is, until her blood work reveals that she's pregnant. What really throws him for a loop is that the surprise baby is his. I think the setup for this accidental pregnancy in Enemies to Lovers romance is amazing. I love the moment when poor Lindsay comes face to face with Dr. Dick, as she calls him, months after their one night stand in the ER, where he tells her that she's pregnant and she figures out that it's his. Without spoiling it, though, I think it's been a teaser for the book. The reason behind this oops pregnancy is hilarious. Of course, Amy Dawes wouldn't just give us a simple and kind of boring reason like the condom broke or they forgot to use protection. Oh no, their reason for this unintended pregnancy was just really plain awesome. And you just have to read it to find out. I loved how the back and forth hate flirting helps Lindsay totally be herself with Dr. Dick with no filtering to impress a guy or to come across as something that she isn't. And despite his dickish moves and less than stellar comments, you come to really feel for Josh, understanding that something really significant made him that way, that you will find out about. Amy Dawes, gosh, she is one of my favorite authors for so many reasons. And One Moment Please did not disappoint. Definitely put that on your TBR list. Next on my list of surprise pregnancy books is The Goal by Elle Kennedy of her popular off-campus series, which, if you didn't realize, is currently being made into a TV show. They are filming now, you guys, and I'm so pumped for it. Anyway, here is what The Goal is about. College senior Sabrina James has her whole future planned out. Graduate from college, kick butt in law school, and land a high-paying job at a cutthroat firm. Her path to escaping her shameful past certainly doesn't include a gorgeous hockey player who believes in love at first sight. One night of sizzling heat and surprising tenderness is all she's willing to give John Tucker, but sometimes one night is all it takes for your entire life to change. Tucker believes being a team player is as important as being the star. On the ice, he's fine staying out of the spotlight, but when it comes to becoming a daddy at the age of 22, he refuses to be a bench warmer. It doesn't hurt that the soon-to-be mother of his child is beautiful, whip-smart, and keeps him on his toes. The problem is Sabrina's heart is locked up tight, and the fiery brunette is too stubborn to accept his help. If he wants a life with the woman of his dreams, he'll have to convince her that some goals can only be made with an assist. That's a really great summary, whoever wrote that, by the way. I freaking love that. Totally captures this book, which I loved because of the main characters. Sabrina is, she's just this really young woman in college, but she has this plan, right? And her pregnancy makes that plan a bit harder to achieve, but she doesn't let it derail her from it. And if anything, she doesn't want anything to do with John so that he won't distract her from her goals given this new hiccup. So I should say thank you, Elle Kennedy, for not letting Sabrina give up on her career goals. But John, in his own right, is so awesome. A young man who wants to step up and be there not only for his kid, but to support Sabrina since he's totally fallen for her. It's such a good, slow burn romance from her perspective, at least. I loved it. Love this entire series. Check out The Goal by Elle Kennedy. The next accidental pregnancy romance that I adored is Reckless by Elsie Silver, which is part of her Chestnut Spring series. And here is what it is about. Theo Silva, rowdy bull rider, notorious ladies' man, scorching hot trouble wrapped up in a drool-worthy package, and he's looking at me like I might be his next meal. But I'm almost free of my toxic marriage and have sworn off men entirely, so all I see when I look back is temptation served up with a heaping side of heartbreak. The man is hard to trust and even harder to resist. Make that impossible, because Theo is persistent. And no matter how hard I try to freeze him out, he melts my icy exterior and pulls apart all my defenses. Over a drink in a small-town bar, I blurt out my deepest, darkest secret. Then I spend the singular, hottest night of my life with him. He worships my body. He makes me blush. I come alive beneath his hand. Then I tell him to forget it ever happened. I want simple, and with him, it all feels complicated. It was supposed to be a one-time thing, a secret, but that little plus sign is going to make this secret impossible to keep. I totally jumped into this book without having read any other book in the series, and I think, honestly, this was my first Elsie Silver book, come to think of it, and I loved it. It's a book I highly recommend if you enjoy hot banter between main characters. The back and forth between Winter and Theo was fire, you guys, especially because they have such different temperaments, and it's sort of what I think made this book really shine. Now, Winter's personality is just as cold as her name, though she's tired of people always putting her in the box as an ice queen without really trying to get to know her. Theo, on the other hand, is this happy-go-lucky, sunshine and rainbows kind of guy, and he is completely turned on by his sparring with Winter when they first meet. And he completely eggs her on purpose, which I think is hilarious and so good. So when a bunch of tequila and an announcement that no man's ever given her the big oh gets mixed together, these two have this epic one-night stand that Winter later realizes leaves her pregnant. The rest of the story, honestly, is Theo coming to learn he has a child and the two of them untangling their attraction despite their hesitation. It's beautiful, hilarious, extremely hot, and so well written, I didn't want it to end. So check out Reckless by Elsie Silver. All right, next on my list of recommendations for surprise pregnancy romance books is Bountiful by Serena Bowen, and here is what it is about. No last names, no life stories, those were the rules. Once upon a time, a cocky, copper-haired tourist sauntered into Zara's bar, and even though she knew better, Zara indulged in a cure for the small-town blues. It was supposed to be an uncomplicated fling, a few sizzling weeks before he went back to his life and she moved on, until an accidental pregnancy changed her life. 2 years later, she's made peace with the notion that Dave, no last name, will never be found. Until one summer day when he walks into her coffee shop, leveling her with the same hot smile that always renders her defenseless. Hockey star Dave Barringer has never forgotten the intense month he spent with prickly Zara. Their nights together were the first true intimacy he'd ever experienced, but the discovery of his child is the shock of a lifetime, and his ugly past puts relationships and family out of reach. Or does it? Vermont's countryside has a way of nurturing even tortured souls. The fields and the orchards in hard-won love are bountiful. So this book does venture into a little bit of surprise baby territory. Since no last names were exchanged, Dave and Zara, they had their one-night stand. So when she found out she was pregnant, oops, she didn't know who to contact. But it's not like hiding the baby was Zara's intention. And I love any hockey romance that Serena writes, but this one, sort of took a different angle for the hockey star, which ties in with her Brooklyn Bruiser series. So you get a really hot hockey player who isn't a playboy, but someone who's dedicated to his career, but wouldn't mind, blowing off some steam with a snarky bartender while he's on vacation. And then, things ensue from there. I loved both Dave and Zara and how they come to make a family together. It's beautiful. It takes place in Vermont. Such a fantastic read. I highly recommend it. Okay, my last recommendation for a surprise pregnancy romance. So this is the one where it's not really hinted at in the summary. So if you don't want to listen to this one, thank you for tuning in. I'll see you next episode. But if you're curious, the next book on my list is Perfection by R.L. Matheson, and here is what the book is about. He never should have said those words, but once they were out, Trevor would have done anything to take them back, but the damage was already done. Hoping to make it up to Zoe, Trevor offers to help her, hoping that it would be enough. The last thing that he expected was to find himself thinking about her, hoping to put an end to this hold that she had over him. He offers her something more, only it wasn't enough. Just once, Zoe wished that something in her life would go right, but that's not usually how things went, at least not for her. So when her life suddenly takes an unexpected turn and the man who'd never looked at her twice offers to help her, she realized that she has nothing left to lose except for her heart. So this is book 2 in Matheson's Neighbors from Hell series, which, oh my gosh, you guys, it is such a fun series if you have not read it yet. Like, honestly, laugh your ass off funny because it centers around different family members of the Bradford family, who the men in this family all have this really weird quirk with food where all the men have these like voracious appetites. I mean, they eat food upon food, but in this like really hilarious way. It doesn't sound like gross or anything, but that's kind of a theme that follows the guys in these stories in a really hilarious way. So this is book 2. It's Trevor's book, where he honestly does not have the best way with Zoe at the beginning, initially with comments about her body, but he soon becomes obsessed with this woman after he tries to help her with the bad luck that she's been experiencing, and then they become neighbors with benefits and then some. If you can get past Trevor's bad behavior at the beginning, which he does recognize and tries to make amends for, it is a really fun, hilarious, sweet, touching, hot book. I mean, all the things. And because it's a surprise pregnancy book, you can imagine with the family issue with food, how that's going to impact Zoe when she's pregnant. It's kind of funny, actually. So check out Perfection by R.L. Matheson. So those are my recommendations. Again, for this week's weekly romance book challenge. If you're checking out this episode after this week, no worries. I hope I gave you a couple of books to add to your TBR list. If you're curious about my A Year of Reading Romance card deck, then you can check it out on shereadsromancebooks.com. Just click the shop up in the menu bar where you can learn more about this deck of 52 cards, each with 2 different reading prompts on them. One that helps you explore the romance book genre in terms of different romance categories and tropes, and the other side having a different reading challenge prompt on them. This deck is so much fun because you can just pull out a card whenever you're bored or don't know what to read next. and it'll give you some fun ideas. So check out A Year of Reading Romance card deck, especially as we're starting to head into the holiday season later this year. It makes a really great stocking stuffer or gift for that romance reader in your life. Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode. Can't wait for you to join me next time. But in the meantime, happy reading, because life is better with a love story. That's all for this episode of the She Reads Romance Books podcast. I hope you enjoyed it and found some new books to add to your TBR list. If you did, please subscribe, rate, and review the show on your favorite podcast app. It really helps me reach more romance book lovers like you, and I appreciate your support. If you're a book boyfriend collector like me, then you'll want to join my email list so you never miss a podcast episode or a new book list. Just visit shereadsromancebooks.com/join and sign up today. As a thank you, I'll instantly send you my list of top 10 book boyfriends that will make you swoon. Trust me, you don't want to miss this list. Thank you for listening, and until next time, happy reading.